I just want you to take a moment here and imagine building your life around strength, power, and control, only to have everything change in an instant. One moment, you're at the top of your game, and the next, you're faced with a reality that you could never have been prepared for. How do you rebuild when everything you thought that defined you is suddenly gone? How do you find purpose when life forces you to start over? See, the true test of a man isn't in how he avoids adversity, but it's how he rises from it. And today we're diving into the journey of a man who turned his greatest challenge to his greatest strength and unlocking a new definition of masculinity, resilience, and personal transformation. So if you've ever felt or faced the obstacles that made you question your strength, purpose, or identity, then this episode I think is going to be for you. So take a moment to hit like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. It's your support that helps us continue to bring conversations and empower men to live with clarity, courage, and confidence. And with that, let's get on with today's episode.
The average man today is sleepwalking through life. Many never reaching their true potential, let alone ever crossing the finish line to living a purposeful life. Yet, the hunger still exists, albeit buried amidst his cluttered mind, misguided beliefs, and values that no longer serve him. It's time to align yourself for greatness. It's time to become a revolutionary man. Stay strong, my brother.
Welcome, everyone, to the Revolutionary Man podcast. I'm the founder of the Awakened Man movement and your host, Alain Dumonceaux. Before we get started, allow me to ask you a couple of questions. How do you define masculinity when life strips away everything you thought made you a man? And what if the challenges you're facing with right now aren't breaking you, but instead are shaping you into the strongest version that you could ever be? No, strength isn't about avoiding struggle. It's about how you show up when the storm hits. And today we are going to explore the mindset of resilience, transformation, and stepping into your inner warrior. And with that, I want to introduce my guest today and his profound story. And so my guest today is Wayne Forrest, and he comes to us here as after playing rugby as a young man, and he became paralyzed at the young, ripe age of 25 years old. And this really transformed his life, becoming a certified master consultant, a motivational speaker, and award-winning transformational coach. He's also a TEDx speaker and the best-selling author of his new book. It's called The Inner Warrior, The Power Within. And it was named in 2023 the Transformational Coach of the Year by the Brave Thinking Institute. And so Wayne helps men unlock in people their inner warrior, overcome obstacles, and achieve their biggest goals, all while we're living with purpose and with joy. And I can't think of a better way to live life. Welcome to the show, Wayne. How are things, my friend?
Oh, thank you, Alan. It's a pleasure to be here. And mate, that's the best intro I've ever been or heard on a podcast. Thank you very much. It was very well said.
Well, thank you very much for providing such an inspiring background. And as you know, here on the Revolutionary Man podcast, we always talk about everybody being on a hero's journey. And so I'd like to explore a little bit about your journey and tell us about that life and or that death, I should say, and rebirth moment, and that experience of how it shaped you into the man you are today and this work that you're doing.
Yeah, I'll just give a quick background. I grew up in a farming lifestyle with farming parents. Immersed myself in farming from a real early age. So at my age, we were allowed to be on the farm, and I was definitely on the front of my grandfather's horse and immersing myself as much as I could until I had to go to school. And school wasn't a place that I really wanted to be at. I didn't enjoy it. And, I knew what I wanted to do, and that was farming. So school had sport, and that was my second love. So farming and sport was my loves in life growing up. And I came home after school and worked on the farm, and then found my own independence and started a couple of businesses up. I'd married a girl that I met overseas, and we had two beautiful little twin daughters of 16 months old. And I was playing for my local club and was honoured with being the captain on the day in this particular rugby match. And Just in the last moments of the game, I took the ball up into contact, and just in that split second of contact, I made a terrible mistake and put myself in danger, which ended up with my head under my shoulder, dislocating my neck. And I can remember the pain was incredible. I don't know if anyone listening has ever dislocated something. It can be quite nerve pain, and all that can be quite horrible. I spent about an hour and a half on that field and waiting for an ambulance, helicopter ambulance, because we were quite rural. And the doctor that came with it gave me some medicine, which took away the pain. And also, I was in and out of consciousness from that moment for about 5 days.
Hmm.
And I woke up looking at a ceiling, which I soon realized was a hospital. And I don't know if the listeners have ever woken up after a horrible experience and just gone, oh, God, I hope it's such a bad dream. I woke up like that for probably a couple of weeks, just wishing, hoping that it was a bad dream, and it wasn't. And in that time, a doctor came in and said, look, pretty pidgin English, you're not going to walk again. And I can remember my heart being ripped out of my chest, just hit me right in the pit of the stomach. And I took on that belief, and I went from this guy that was physical, loved running, loved being physical. I used to shear sheep as a sideline. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's cutting the wool off sheep. It's like a dance. A day of that is like running 3 marathons. I loved it. I absolutely loved hard work, and I loved being physical, and grew up in a very physical sort of ego background, and all of a sudden that was stripped away. And I can remember thinking, how am I going to survive this? And I, in that moment, heard a voice inside me. It was really calm and peaceful, but didn't argue or answer back. It just said, you're going to do what you love. And that kind of set me on this journey of reinventing myself. And there's a lot, no doubt, that we'll talk about that I've come to light to understand how transformation and success works and all those sort of things.
Your story is so incredible. And I just think about how innocent life can seem for us at any given moment, and participating in a sport and doing something that you love. And like you made the comment that you made a mistake in that single moment. And how often in life are we making mistakes and we get away lucky that not really recognize it. And then when we're faced and confronted with everything that you've had been confronted with, there must have been moments when you just felt like it's that you just wanted to give up. Talk us through a little bit about what that's like, because I'm sure there's people listening to this episode right now that are at that place of where it's no return and they want to give up. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of emotions that you go through. It's losing your best friend because it's part of you. It's the physical, for me, it was the physical side of my personality. And I thought that defined me. So there was a lot of moments of ups and downs. My marriage didn't survive it. There was moments of self-doubt and self-worth, big one, even shame. There was moments, what kind of man? I'm meant to be this big physical farmer boy who's tough, and here I am. I can't even feed myself, or in the early days, that is, and I couldn't even go to the toilet by myself, and the shame of that, even being a country boy who was reasonably shy and body conscious and things like that. There was all those feelings going in and out. But there was also this part of me that wanted to survive. There was a part of me that I had twin daughters, 16 months. Life seemed to want to pull me still as well. And I suppose in the end, that's what I listened to. I listened to the life in us that pulled me to want to create. And that's no doubt we'll talk about that process, but there's a process to creating in life.
Yes.
And I think that's what will pull any of us into living a life that we can love. Doesn't even matter what circumstances we find ourselves in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I'll take lots of notes in our interviews, and I just wrote down, you talked about right out of the gate there about it. It was like losing your best friend. And I think about, those moments when we have lost somebody close to us. And so maybe you're not somebody's listening to this today, maybe you're not in a position where it's life threatening or debilitating. However, the debilitation can show up in so many different ways and can truly paralyze our lives in many different aspects. And so when you talk about losing a best friend, I just had this weight that was sitting on my shoulders, and the idea of losing a part of me and then having this void and having to now fill that and change it. And this is where I think you started doing your work and looking at this concept that you call an inner warrior. And so I wonder if we can start talking a little bit about that. That probably is going to lead us into the creation process as well. But let's talk a little bit about how you discovered the inner warrior. Was that a revelation, or is that something that slowly grew to come to what it is today?
It's beautiful. It was the latter for me. I think it can come in its instant as well. It's understanding that we've got two sides. This is how I explain it to most people. We've got two sides of our personality, or this experience, I should say. We've got the human side, which is from our birth date right to the day we die. And a lot of that's been programmed through the experience itself. So, we came into this life, we tried to fit into our group, whatever family group that is, or group we find ourselves in. And we learn to survive in that group, and we take on beliefs and we take on situations that sometimes aren't great and sometimes are great, and we make them mean something, right? So we have this experience that most of us take as belief.
Yeah.
But then we've got this other side to our nature, and that's what I call the inner warrior side, or you can call it spirit, you can call it your instincts, higher self, or even God. I just like inner warrior because for me, it's where the power is, right? For me. And that side is whole. You are whole, right? That side is also our true nature. It's way more than the experience that we've had in this life experience, right? There's something more to it. It's connected to
Yeah.
this universe that we live in. It's also abundant because just like nature, it's the same essence as nature in us because it's connected to nature, right? So it's got some sort of intelligence with it. So it's genius. And if you watch a little baby, God, aren't they gorgeous they just soak everything up, right?
Yeah.
From 0 to 6, we know that a kid is in, I think it's beta or alpha brain
Mhm.
vibration. Please correct me. I don't know which one it is, but I know it's one of those higher vibrations.
Yeah.
And it soaks up knowledge and is curious and isn't afraid to try things. And we've still got that in our nature, even when we're growing up, right? It's just been conditioned out of us.
Right.
So this side of the nature has got four parts to it. It's genius, it's whole, it's abundant, and the fourth one is its unconditional love. There's a difference between conditioned love, which is quite often the human experience. And as a parent, I've used conditioned love to get my kids to do what I want them to do. If you do this, you can have that. Right? That's conditioned love. But unconditional love is just giving. It's a sense of love that's just overwhelming, that you just want to give everybody love, right?
Yeah.
So that's our other side of our nature, and it's our instincts, it's our spider tingles, it's your intuition, it's the part of you that says, if you're a woman, don't go near that guy, he's giving me the creeps. It's the part of you that goes, mate, take an umbrella at lunch, it's going to rain at lunchtime, and you go, ah, man, I wish I brought that umbrella. It's pouring down. It's the part of you that seems to know stuff and is trying to tell you stuff. We, in this human experience, have learned to trust on our touch, taste, feel of the human experience instead of these modalities that we have deeper, and we've disconnected. Often we haven't disconnected because it's there. We haven't learned to create a relationship with that side of us often. And so what I do is teach people to connect to that side, because you've got all the answers, you've got all the solutions. You just need to get the right questions. You've got everything you need within you. That's why I like to call it the inner warrior. It's powerful beyond your even understanding, even beyond my understanding. So that's what I've found, especially in this journey, is through a whole lot of experiences. Don't worry, I've definitely had some ups and downs, and
Sure.
it's been a journey to find my inner warrior. I've been in the chair 30 years now, or coming up 30 years in May. So yeah, and of course, I've got this knowledge. I want to help other people find that for themselves.
Right on.
Yeah.
I love that explanation. I was writing down again a bunch of stuff, and you talked about instincts and intuition, and really about learning to trust and to listen, and that. And then it's really about you said it's really about getting the right answers, or they're getting the right questions to ask. And that really resonates with me, because there is that aspect. I completely agree with you and deeply believe that there is a part that resides in all of us that is whole and complete, and that we are whole and complete, regardless of what the exterior version of us may appear to be. And when we can trust enough in that, then I think that's when we start to move forward. And so, what I like about your story and the work that you're doing is you're really asking men to do something that's quite uncomfortable for us, and that is to be vulnerable, or I'll use a different word, in order to surrender to something that we may not know yet, and maybe even not even trust. And so let's talk a little bit about how you learned to embrace that change in your life, and how that really has shaped your perspective on masculinity and strength.
Yeah, mate, I love that. I think the best way to describe it is the process that I found through this journey, and especially in self-development, because I realized that the process took me to that inner warrior. And I said it might be different for others, but for me, it was understanding that voice of knowing when I had my accent, do what you love, was my inner warrior, right? And so that was it. I created a vision of going back to the farm and running the farm.
Wow.
I didn't know how. From the level of fact, I wasn't even meant to push out of the hospital, let alone push my own wheelchair, right? I was meant to go in an electric wheelchair. So how was I going to run 1,100 acre farm, sheep and beef, right? And so on the level of fact, it was, I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I just knew I had to try, because it was my first love. And I think that's where you start. You find something that you would love from your heart, and hopefully it's not something you can see how to do. It has to be something bigger than you.
Yeah.
And because that helps us grow into the next version of us, right? And so far, it took me a couple of years. It helped me pull me to the gym, do my exercises, do my weights, get out on those frosty mornings and get out of my garage and do my weights and learn to get strong enough to transfer so I could transfer from my wheelchair. I haven't got full limbs for the listeners, so I haven't even got finger movements in my hands. It's all I've got is a few muscles in my arms. So this was a process.
Yeah.
And by doing that, and then all of a sudden I started to be able to drive, and there came some fears with that, right? I started to have terrible anxiety, but we won't talk about that. But I had to push through that, and I became a better version of me and stronger version of me. And next minute I had something adapted for the farm, and I had a six-wheeler, actually Canadian made Argo with a car seat, and I could open gates and get in the yards and do stock work and have my dogs. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, wow, I've achieved this dream, and I didn't know how the hell I was going to do it at the beginning. Oh,
Yeah,
I want that feeling again. And then I started to create a new dream. So the process then was, okay, create that vision, step into the vision, do what you can from where you are, decide for the thing that you want to create. Deciding is so powerful.
yeah.
And then that takes you on a road to wherever you're going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. What an appreciative roadmap that you just shared with us. And I think for many of us, we think that I'll speak for myself here. There was a point in time in my life, and it shows up once in a while still, where if I don't feel I have the entire roadmap written out or thought out, then I'm reluctant to take the first step. And more often than not, I find that if I just take a step, that more things reveal themselves to me. And it's not necessarily the map that I had thought I was going to go on, but I've just trusted enough. And then lo and behold, like you were describing there, you're sitting on your Argo and you're doing farm work. And how often can we in our lives experience that and take a moment to recognize that it's really about what's happening in front of me today. It's the only thing I can control. What can I do today to make that move one step closer? And so I think there's a big piece there that I'd like to try and unpack a little bit more. And it's really what you're talking about is really facing our adversity every day as men. And it doesn't sound like you isolated yourself too much, but maybe you did. And I know for my experience that when I went through some of my hardship, that was something that I tended to do, was isolate. What advice would you give for somebody who's in that, they're at that crux in their life, that fork in the road, and they're trying to move themselves through it, and they're considering, and maybe they already started to isolate themselves? What would you talk about? What would you say to them and help them get through that?
It took me on a path, right? That process. And the next vision was extreme outdoor activities integrated with people with disabilities and physical people. So, in other words, people like myself and like you. And we both went on the same extreme outdoor 5-day course, right? This changed my life. And this is what the listeners, if you're feeling isolated and feeling down, depressed, anxious, and it's very hard to get out of that mindset at that moment. But one thing that I really figured out for me was I naturally help people overcome fears by just willing to look at my own fears. And that could be an able person as well. Like you might have a fear of water or heights or whatever it is, right? And by just being encouraging, I was helping people, and that really made me feel really good about myself. And I've got a quote that I often tell people: our own healing is in the service of others with the same pain. And this is the problem when we get into those places of darkness, is we look in right? We become inward. We're looking, poor me, when I say that, no, I don't mean spiritually looking in, I'm looking at selfish look towards ourselves. I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling dark, I'm feeling angry, or whatever that is. It's actually look out to help someone else. Even if it's just the old lady walking across the car park with the groceries, or if it's someone who's struggling to do something, or a neighbor who's trimming a tree, or just to help someone, because it'll take your mind out of where you're at, the circumstance or the situation, and put it on something that is makes you feel better. And you have to just trust me on that one. You have to try it, okay? It's you have to just take my word for it and be curious and try it, because I think you'll find that it does make you feel so much better.
Yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. And I was thinking as you were telling this part of the story, and you had mentioned earlier that you're a father of twins. And when we're going through our turbulence, our time, that's this chapter in our lives, we can tend to be less conscious or less present as fathers. So let's talk a little bit about the importance, of us remaining, finding our way back to that consciousness and being powerful role models for our children. Because I would venture to guess that you're an extremely powerful role model for your children for what you've accomplished. But for those of us that are listening to this, the importance of what it means to be a conscious father.
It's big. I think consciousness. Actually, it was Bob Proctor. I've heard say, if you know who Bob Proctor is, he's another Canadian. He said that it's never a relationship problem, it's never a money problem, it's always a lack of awareness problem. And so it is becoming conscious. And for a dad, right? I've got 4 kids now. I've got 2 teenagers, one 18 and one, he's coming up 16. My younger two, plus the 31-year-old twins who have got 5 grandchildren. And man, have I learned through that journey of understanding what my inner warrior stands for. Unconditional love. And we have to stand as men. I think the modern masculine is standing for loving ourselves. To do that, we have to look at our trauma. We've all got some sort of trauma that creates that human pattern of anger, frustration, sadness, what else? So any lack vibration comes from some sort of trauma that we've perceived as a little child. And sometimes it is a horrible trauma that you've actually been through.
Yeah.
But it's understanding that we have to, as men, we've been taught to hold it down, push it down, like you said earlier, like a big beach ball. We're holding this beach ball underwater until we can't hold it anymore, and we burst out in anger, or we burst out in sadness, or we go into depression, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
It's all different. So it's understanding that, okay, we've got this trauma. I have to heal that trauma, because we as parents are a reflection to our partners, are a reflection to our kids, and they reflect us. Both are our best teachers, because every time you trigger and you react to your kids in a way that is in those vibrations that I've just said, it means that's a part of you that you want to get curious about and heal and love. Because that little boy or girl or whoever's listening to this that has got that pain didn't know any better, and neither did the people that gave it to you. So heal that side of you, and you will be a reflection that is going to be magnificent for your kids and for your partner.
What I really appreciate about what you just said there is I love the definition you gave of the modern masculine, and that is standing for loving ourselves. And how many times do we battle as men shame and
Mm.
anger and fear and self-worth and doubt and lots of the things that we talked about today? But really what it all comes down to is being able to love and accept ourselves, and to work and do that deep shadow work, the work that there's parts of us that we're just not happy about. And I love how you talked about the family as a reflection of who we
Mm.
are and how we conduct ourselves. It is a great training ground. I like to say that if you really want to find out what you're made of, get married, have kids, and start a business, because everything that's going to go wrong will go wrong. And
Yeah.
you'll have no choice but to face all different aspects of your life in those moments. And so I think those are all the things that you've been doing. And I think it's really valid advice you've been giving. I was
Alan,
saying,
I
go ahead.
just to sew that back, I understand now that same trauma of not being enough as a
Mhm.
kid was the same trauma that created the opportunity for me to put myself in danger and dislocate my neck. All right. That took a process, right? There's been a road here of learning to understand that, but I quite often say my accident was no accident because there was, now I see the voice in my head at that time was, I have to prove myself because I don't feel good enough.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I'm sure on your way through this journey in life, Wayne, you've either read a book or you've had some mentors, you've come across something, and I'll call that advice. Maybe it wasn't advice, it was a lesson learned or something. Well, I'll use the word advice for this question. What would you say has been the best piece of advice or the most profound piece of advice that you've been given? How is it still serving you today?
Yeah, it's really good. It's stay curious and don't take on belief. Question everything.
Mm.
Question everything I've said here today. Do your own research and stay curious and find your own truth. It's so powerful. If we do that as human beings, we'll find that real truth and a warrior inside ourselves.
Amen, brother. Amen. I love that. Wayne, brother, I just want to say thank you so much for spending time with me today and sharing your wisdom really on resilience and purpose and what it means to be a modern masculine man today. Because your journey, I truly believe, is so powerful. And it's a reminder that our greatest challenges can become the foundation of our greatest strengths. And so, if men are interested in getting a hold of you and participating in your work, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, mate, I've got a couple of things, if it's okay with you. I'd
Yeah.
love to give your listeners the opportunity of a complimentary gift. That got complimentary gift is a 45 minute to an hour call with me, one-on-one via Zoom, where we really look at that struggle, that challenge in their life and get clear on that so that we understand that is often the block for us creating what we would truly love for our lives. And then we'll get clear on what it is that you would
Mm.
really love, right? Dial that in, get really clear on it. And then the strategy part, which is looking at there's a gap there, right? So what is the step you can take from where you are with what you have in the direction of that goal or dream, that vision that you would love? And this is complimentary for 10 listeners. I only got enough space for 10 through my month. But the first 10 that jump on and register on that link that we've given you through my website, you'll get a time that might suit or that they can pick. And there's a value to that. There's 250 US dollars. It's very powerful, guys. If it really resonates, if this resonates with you, jump on there and let's have a look at how we can get you moving forward and stepping into that inner warrior more and more.
Love that. I'm going to make sure that is going to be in today's show's notes as well as wherever else that you're on social media. Again, to get a hold of Wayne, it's wayneforrest.com. That's his website. And I just want, as we close to this episode, I just want to challenge you with a thought that, are you facing struggles and mindset of a warrior? And are you letting your thoughts really truly define you? Because strength isn't about avoiding hardship, as we said this whole episode. It's about how we rise from it. And so I want to also introduce you to a program that we're offering here at the Awakened Man. It's called Living with Integrity. It's a program designed to help men unlock their resilience, step into leadership, and create lives of purpose for themselves and for their families. And so if you're ready to step into your full power, then the first thing you need to do is go to our membership site. It's members.theawakenedman.net, and take our free integrity challenge. It's an opportunity for you to really understand where it is that you're living out of integrity and allow you to start taking that first step. So be sure you live with intention. I want you to lead with courage, and let's get started now. And thank you so much for being on the show today, Wayne.
Thank you, Alan. It's been a pleasure. I loved it.
Thank you for listening to the Revolutionary Man podcast. Are you ready to own your destiny? To become more the man you are destined to be? Join the brotherhood that is the Awakened Man at theawakenedman.net and start forging a new destiny today.